Batman the Killing Joke is one of the most iconic comic books of all time, and I finally read it. Now, I watched the movie for it like years ago, I think probably in like 2018, and I remember hating it. I don't really remember why, but I remember hating it. My friend also, like, every time my best friend Logan, anytime we mentioned it, we're like, yeah, like, that really sucked. So I was interested to read this because it's one of the most beloved comic books of all time, and I heard that even people who love the comic book didn't like the movie, and I'm going to review the movie later this week. I did rewatch it, and it's just like the definition of a mixed bag for me. Again, I'll go into all of that when I talk about it in a few days, but talking about the comic book here, this thing is amazing. It's not my favorite by any means. Out of the ones I've read so far, for those who are just checking this video and who haven't already checked out my other ones, I read Batman Year One, The Batman Who Laughs, and Batman The Long Halloween. The Long Halloween being my favorite. I've reviewed them all. I kind of have the same-ish feelings for this one as like Year One. I'm not sure if it's my least favorite. I think I like it a little bit more than The Batman Who Laughs, I'd say, and I'm not sure if I like this one or Year One more. Maybe this one. Again, I'm not 100% sure. There are a ton of things I love about this, but I do have a few problems with this, which, yeah, it does suck to say, but I mean, oh well, not everything can be as great as The Long Halloween. I have to say, though, the best thing about this is the illustrations and the drawings. They are so detailed. This is easily the best looking Batman comic that I've read so far, and it probably is just the best looking one of all. Like, there's one scene that really stands out to me, and it's this drawing, especially of the Joker, and I don't know what it is, and this line is also pretty awesome, but like, just look at that detail, everything about it, that's just so Joker. And then you also have this picture here, which is one of the most iconic Joker pictures of all time. Like, even if you haven't read The Killing Joke, you've seen that picture. It's one of my favorite, probably, drawings of all time. It's easily my favorite drawing in the entire graphic novel. It is insane. And the Joker is my favorite villain of all time. Batman is not only my favorite superhero, but my favorite character of all time. And this one tells a really interesting story because the Joker and Batman, they've been going at it for like quite a bit. And you see a little bit of the Joker's like origins, how he became the Joker, and it's a different take on kind of what we've seen before, at least. It goes into more detail here, and it's different than the Joker movie, which I really love. But those are in flashbacks. The main story here is that Joker is trying to basically prove that anyone can go crazy after just one bad day, and that's what it says on the back. It just says one bad day, which is just like the perfect tagline in a way, and the way he does that is by trying to turn Jim Gordon, of course, Commissioner Gordon, kind of bad, and it's insanely brutal. Like, this is one of the most brutal Batman stories just ever. Like, it's easily the most brutal one I've read, but I just know that everybody says like everything in it is just so messed up, and because you read it, it really is. I'm not going to go into that because that's something that I feel like you have to experience for yourself, and I don't even want to go into detail and explain. I'm going to talk about some of the things, but not like everything fully in detail because, yeah, that wouldn't go on YouTube. But I think that idea alone is so interesting. You have Joker trying to prove that he's not as crazy as everybody thinks he is. Like, yeah, sure, he's a supervillain and he admits it, but he's also showing that he's not the only one. And he tries to show like the darkness in the world and how you can corrupt people so easily. And of course, the way he does that, spoiler alert, again, I mostly talk spoilers in these, is that he does some bad stuff to Barbara Gordon in front of Jim Gordon, and then he takes Jim Gordon like prisoner almost in this new like amusement park that he kind of buys, and he has all these like what back in the day would be like odd creatures and stuff like that, or like odd creatures and stuff like that. And then, you know, he kind of almost tortures Jim Gordon. Well, he definitely tortures Jim Gordon by taking him through this ride and showing him pictures of Barbara and her like bleeding and everything. Like, there's more to that, obviously, and just like they like strip him down, they keep him in a cage, everything like that. It's really brutal. I'd say this is more of a Joker story than a Batman story, but Batman's presence is felt through the entire thing, and we do get to see some amazing scenes here. We get to see like one of, if not the first time that he sees a Joker, and it's when, of course, Arthur Fleck, they don't refer to him as Arthur in here, but I'm just gonna go with that. It's when he turns into the Joker and he's running and he's got like the red hood thing on, as they call it, with the other like crime people, and I wouldn't say crime bosses, but the other criminals, and then, you know, he falls into the thing and then emerges, and then he starts laughing, and it's really like awesome. It's really brutal. It leads to that incredible picture that I talked about earlier being my favorite picture in the entire book, and quite possibly my favorite Joker illustration of all time. And I definitely think it benefits from being so dark. Like, you couldn't tell a story like this and have the same impact if it wasn't so dark. And yes, the story is short. Like, it's not even 100 pages. It's even shorter than Year One, at least from memory, I'd say, because I did read Year One like a month and a half, 2 months ago. I don't remember exactly, but you can get through this in one sitting easily. Like the other ones, maybe a few sittings. This one, super easy. I like finished it. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how short this was. And the ending is something I'm going to talk about because a lot of people have different thoughts on it. And for me, there's some part of me that I don't like it, but it's interesting with all the theories, because one of the big theories of it is that Batman ends up killing the Joker, and, you know, Batman has a big rule that he doesn't kill, that, you know, it depends on the Batman we're talking about here. But in this one, people have theorized that when he puts his hand on him, and, you know, Allan Moore said that it's just him laughing with him, but then people just assume that that's him killing him, and therefore why it's called the Killing Joke, which I do think is interesting, and it could make sense. And even the movie, that's one thing I will give the movie credit for. It's one of the things, is that it kind of dives into that more, and I'll talk about that in that review. And I for some reason, me being like a massive Batman fan, me being a fan of the Batman who doesn't kill, I think that in this context, it kind of makes sense, and I think it's better than Batman just laughing with the Joker, because that's one of the things. Like, I remember when I watched the movie back years and years ago with my friend, and Batman starts laughing with the Joker and it just ends. I'm like, I don't like that. That's not something that would normally happen. So again, Allan Moore has said it's just him laughing. But for me, I like it more if Batman does actually kill him, which is insane. And I know a lot of people would probably disagree with me because Batman doesn't kill, which totally makes sense. But because a lot of like the dialogue here is like, you know, we've gotten to the point where Batman says like, either you kill me or I kill you. We can't keep doing this forever and ever. And I think that's really interesting. And I think that's kind of where the theory comes from. And this thing is intense. Like, even, you know, pictures and pages, everything, like flipping through them, it's intense as hell. It's brutal. It's dark. Batman the Killing Joke is one of the most iconic comic books of all time for a reason. It is dark, it is gritty, and it is truly gruesome and gross even at times, but it is pretty great throughout. The illustration is top notch, probably the best illustration I've ever seen in a comic book. And there are times where I'm like, okay, this isn't exactly what I'm feeling, and the ending I'm very iffy on. Like, part of me enjoys it, but there's also that big part of me that's like, this just doesn't seem normal or natural, anything like that. But if you're a fan of Batman, or if you've even seen the movie and you didn't like it, I highly recommend giving this one a chance, because it is a million times better than the adaptation. And I'm going to give Batman the Killing Joke a 4 out of 5. It's really solid, and I love how even on the cover here it says, I loved The Killing Joke. It's my favorite. It's the first comic I've ever loved, and that's from Tim Burton, obviously the director of the original, or at least the 1989 Batman, and then Batman Forever, which I'm still dying to rewatch. I mean, I've seen them a million times, but it's been years since I watched Batman Forever. I rewatched Batman, like the 1989 film, like weeks or probably even like a month and a half ago or something. But right now I am reading through, it's just like Joker, his greatest jokes or something like that, and it's basically just a compilation of all these big like Joker things, and it's quite interesting. The styles are definitely changing, and I do want to talk about that when I finish it. I'm not exactly sure when I will. And I'm also excited to read Batman Hush, Death in the Family, and I do have, what is it called, The Dark Knight Returns, and I do want to read that one, but a lot of people are saying like, read a lot more of the Batman comics before you read that one, so I'm kind of saving it for a bit. I'm trying to find ones at libraries, because I do own this one. There are a few that I've bought, but I do own this one, and I can definitely see myself reading it over and over again, because it's a great piece of like storytelling, and I just love the idea of Joker trying to prove that other people can go insane by just one bad day. I think that concept alone is one of the most interesting Batman or Joker or DC or anything comic related. I think it's one of the most interesting stories out there. But what do you think of this one? What do you think of the movie as well? I know a lot of people have a lot to say about that one, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.